How to reconstruct a positive perspective on relationships. How in the world does a person heal and learn to trust or even to open up to the possibility of another relationship after betrayal? When I think about one day dating again, all I can think of is all the possible ways it could go wrong, all the places they might suddenly meet someone else who will wreck the relationship, or how every person just has some triggers that for them will suddenly open the cheating floodgates. For my SDBXW, it was me leaving the job we both worked for a much better opportunity but with a different schedule. That's all it took for her to have an opening, a feeling of okay, time to meet someone else. It wasn't even a week after I switched jobs that she had met someone and started talking to her AP. How do you find someone who is loyal? What are signs to look for that someone actually values loyalty and doesn't just fake it until things get inconvenient or unpleasant? I read and hear so many stories of so many different situations, some far better than ours ever was, and still one party just throws it all away on a ducking whim. I was slow to open up to people even before I met my wife. For 5 years before her I had no romantic contact at all except one awkward date where the most we did was hold hands. I'm not great at relationships, I'm super hesitant just by virtue of seeing so much toxic behavior around me growing up. I feel like there is almost no way to recover after a blow like this. For anyone who has felt like this and managed to make it out of the woods, how did you do it? Did you ever find someone who was actually good for you, and if so, how? What traits did you look for? I'm desperately looking for some hope here. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1, in one of our sessions, my counselor asked me what trust means to me, and I realized I didn't have a good answer. She asked me why I trusted my SDBXH so completely, even in spite of the red flags I saw during the course of our relationship. And I said he had never let me down. We were introduced by mutual friends and I think that made me believe I could trust him. Because I didn't think my friend would encourage me to pursue something if he was a bad guy. She still thinks he's a good guy who is just doing really ducked up things. She wants to help him get better. She thinks he feels shame for what he's done. I think she's very wrong. I don't think I will ever get involved with someone that is introduced through a friend again. Just because you've known someone half of your life doesn't mean you know them. Redditor follow-up, oh man, this hit me hard. My ex-GF and I were introduced through mutual friends and everything was great for 3 years. Then out of nowhere she has ons with a man and I find out. She panics, says it meant nothing, yada yada. I didn't care. I knew immediately in my heart my trust in her was gone forever. I ended it. She was devastated at first, then mad that I overreacted. And guess what? Most of our mutual friends agreed. That was even worse in some ways than her betrayal. They said this wasn't the real her, people do dumb it drunk. She knows she ducked up. Whatever. I agree with what you said. I think they're wrong. Redditor 2, how do you find someone who is loyal? What are signs to look for that someone actually values loyalty and doesn't just fake it until things get inconvenient or unpleasant? I read and hear so many stories of so many different situations, some far better than ours ever was, and still one party just throws it all away on a ducking whim. For me it comes down to gauging a perspective so on selflessness. Infidelity is a selfish act done by selfish people. People who value their commitments and promises and the people they made them to lower than their pleasure or desires. In my experience, people who are selfish in small things will be selfish in the big ones too. Look for the small red flags, making plans without talking to you. Or changing the channel even though you were in the middle of watching something. Or going to the kitchen without asking if you want something while they are up. Never asking you questions or wanting to hear about what's going on in your life is a big one. Or someone who doesn't listen and changes the subject as soon as you finish speaking if it wasn't about them. These are all little things and none of them are relationship breakers. But they do indicate a pattern of behavior. Like I said, people who are selfish in small things will be selfish in big things. As for how to make it out of the woods, it's been almost 4 years since D-Day and almost 3 since divorce. I haven't figured it out yet. Redditor follow-up, think this is a good one, however my ex changed drastically when I look back at things after we got the kids. She was very unselfish before we got the kids, extremely kind and considerate. NBSB. But after the kids it felt like they replaced me completely. All her love and affection went to them. Of course she should love her kids. But with this also came a selfishness which I called out a few times. I very often got the feeling that I wasn't even in her mind, as long as she got what she wanted. NBSB. And yeah, there's just so many little things I can look back on. She mentions she is tense, I give her a back rub. I mention I am tense, no back rub. Or if I specifically ask for one, she will complain the entire time. She goes out drinking with friends and sleeps late due to a hangover. I take the kids, get her some paracetamol, make her lunch and don't say a word. I know she's feeling bad, so I help. I go out drinking. She takes the kids, lets me sleep, but will give me hell when I wake up for having her do that. I make coffee, I bring her a cup. She makes coffee, she doesn't bring me a cup. She used to do all these things, but after the kids, no more. There's hundreds of these small things. Redditor 3, my friend, I'm very sorry you're going through this. I've just recently, almost 5 months, found out I've been betrayed horrifically for the second time in my life. It's absolute hell. Like you, I have no clue how the F I will ever trust again. I'm hoping that in time and with therapy, that I will learn to deal with triggers and maybe be able to be vulnerable again, but I know I can never fully trust another partner again, I just won't. If I'm healed enough to open myself up again, that man will have to have a lot of love and patience with me, and I'll have very strict boundaries, so I may just be alone for the foreseeable future, and I'm okay with taking my time to figure my life out. I'm sure others will soon come on and give you some wonderful words of wisdom. Wishing you the very best of luck. Update, AP couldn't get it up. My SDBXW was having a long-distance emotional affair and effectively killed our marriage over it. We've been separated for a couple months now and I happen to know she finally met up with AP over the recent holiday weekend. Originally I assumed they sealed the deal, but through certain avenues I was able to ascertain that he was completely unable to perform when he visited, which might explain why she acted so awkward and upset during the time he was here and right after. I know because I had to pick up drop off our daughter before and after this visit. The situation still isn't healthy or good overall, but holy s it is it ever ducking hilarious. Karma strikes again. Just needed to get it off my chest, thanks. Edit, since a lot of people have asked how I know this happened, he made a post bemoaning his experience online. Redditor's reactions, story 2 after. Redditor 1, long distance emotional affair lol, and she thought everything will work out fine for her. Redditor follow up, blowing up your entire life for an online stranger, what could go wrong? Oh, right. Redditor 2, that probably blew away some affair fog. The grass isn't always greener. Don't get too caught up in her misfortunes though, focus on the kids and you do you. Keep up 180 and Grey Rock. Answer, oh will do. Since he left she has mysteriously been much friendlier, so I can only assume the first of many attempts at crawling back isn't far away, but she can kick rocks lol. Redditor 3, so she basically destroyed your marriage in thinking her AP was a mighty oak when in reality the prick was just a hanging vine. That tells you right there how extremely poor her standards are. Brother, it might not feel like it now since she betrayed you, but you are winning. She knows she has royally screwed up and you now know what she is. Let her live in her own failures. All that matters is your daughter and you. Focus on her. Bump your wife to mother of my kids status and go full 180 grey rock. Once the divorce is finalized, live your life my dude. You got this? Redditor follow-up, the mighty oak hanging vine reference has now been added to my list of favorite sayings. Story 2, my fiancé cheated. How I moved on. My story, at the onset, is your typical infidelity discovery. M27, engaged for 6 months, fiancé acting distance, gone at weird times, time infrequent excuses. Found the texts. She'd been sleeping with a guy married, kids. Took pics of all of them. This douchebag was coaching my fiancé on having affairs. He's been doing it off and on for years. Like it's acceptable. And yes, it's in the texts. Here's my success story. This transpired late spring. Wedding was planned this summer. Zero hesitation, was no way this was going happen. I was done. 1. I work for a huge company. Position openings galore right now. Interviewed and secured a position in a place I always wanted to live. 2. Gave notice to my landlord. Fiancé lived with me. Lease entirely in my name. Filed unlawful detainer. 3. Got a new phone plan and new number. 4. Plan was to end relationship on a Thursday. My last day in apartment was Friday. Move as scheduled. Impeccable timing. She had a girls' weekend getaway planned that weekend. 5. Arranged to have sheriff at my place for 4 hours. Cost me $200. We can hire off-duty in my county. What transpired that Thursday? FedEx screenshots to her parents and AP's wife. Both with respectable notes. Her parents were out a lot of money having to cancel wedding with short notice. Felt bad, not really. Turned old cell phone service off. Met with deputy, explained situation. Presented court documents. Dude was cool. She came home from work. Told her we were done. She needed to pack and leave. No explanation. Just that I was not ready to be married. Of course she was a mess. Deputy moved it along. Took a few hours. Tears transitioned to anger. That evening, blocked her on everything. Was on the road by Friday afternoon. It's almost 3 months now. The new job, new scenery, meeting new people. Have been North Carolina with most everyone. Mutual friends tell me she is not doing well. The ones I keep in contact with now know the story. Her parents contacted my parents, and apologized. They asked for my information but my dad declined to share. He did tell me to call them. I may out of respect. Her sister, who I failed to block, messaged me on FB. Wrote she understood why, but felt I could have handled better. Update, my fiancé cheated. How I handled it. Follow up. Never imagined I'd get this much feedback from my post. Thanks everyone for the encouragement and support. This means so much to me. Based on some of the questions and comments, I wanted to provide more information for those interested. Many have made comments regarding my ex-fiancé's sister's PM comment. I honestly always felt her comment was based on how I handled things with her parents. After reading your comments, I now see she may have meant how I handled it with my ex as well. During my long drive and days after, I felt really cowardly. Felt like I was running from my ex by not confronting her with the truth. I honestly just didn't want to deal with it, felt it would do no good, and really did just want to get away. Your comments now make me feel good about what I did. I plan to contact her parents soon. Need to just find a phone and privacy. Not sure what to say exactly. Regarding the texts between X and AP. I had 12 pics of the text strings, so a lot. Also a few pics not sexual, but incriminating. There was no doubt they had slept together. The comments he made that aggravated me pertained to him justifying cheating. Everyone I know, men and women, have at some point had someone on the side. Guaranteed your BF has cheated, or will. All guys do it. We are no programmed to be monogamous. My marriage is better because I don't have to put everything on my wife. The comments my ex made that were upsetting. I enjoyed our time the other day. I just need to get more comfortable, it just takes a couple times. I am just nervous. Not being with you. It's great. Just do not want him to find out. Ever. I'm pretty sure he cheated on me before. For the record, I never cheated on her. I never contacted the AP's wife. Both letters and screenshots were sent FedEx. Tracking shows they delivered. That's all I have. Part of me wants to contact her, part of me thinks with what I sent there's no way he can weasel out of this unless she's in complete denial, in which case it's pointless. I talked to a few mutual friends. They brought her up. All I gather is she's not doing well, whatever that means. I really do not want to get into discussions about her, so I changed the subject. I live in a really cool apartment complex. A lot of people my age and met a bunch. Also have a lot of friends from work. Social life is pretty good. Thanks again. When I speak to her parents, I'll send an update. Update, my fiancé cheated. How I handled it. Update. Just following up on my previous posts. As I wrote earlier, based on most everyone's advice, I reached out to my ex's parents. I spoke only to my father-in-law. Good conversation. I took the apology approach. What I mean is, I told him I was sorry to have sent him the pics of messages, etc. I just said I respected them and needed them to understand exactly why I made my decision. He brushed all of that aside and was more curious about how I was doing, my new job, etc. Gave me a lot of words of encouragement, etc. We did not discuss my ex. He did not volunteer anything and I did not ask. I did end up talking to a friend from where I used to live. Sounds like ex moved back home and quit her job. Also, ashamed to admit, did a little Facebook stalking AP's wife. Thinking she received what I sent. Based on her Facebook posts around the time I sent the pics, there were a lot of motivational memes with a lot of supporting comments which lead me to believe she's leaving him. Can't be certain, but not a lot of this type of posts prior. Really enjoying my new job and making new friends every week. Not ready to date, but feeling good about meeting someone when the time is right. Anyway, nothing very exciting. Update, my fiancé cheated. How I handled it. Context. Hi everyone. Had a lot of questions regarding how I was able to manage the breakup with my ex. I appreciate everyone's thoughts and support. Not the greatest writer. Kept my post history up for background. Please understand that I discovered her cheating well before I left. No question those days right after discovery were, and still are, a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't concentrate at work, couldn't sleep. Could barely function. Trust me, I really struggled with not confronting her. I guess what was pivotal was an evening when she was very late coming home. Of course, pretty certain she was with him. Observing her just go on like any other day, being nice, asking about me etc., and knowing the whole time it's a sham was just a slap in the face. I do not know how to describe it, but she went from my one and only to not if she were the last woman on earth. Obviously I was not myself, and I guess she could sense that. There were a few times where she was especially affectionate and very concerned. You okay? Something wrong? Etc. Very hard to fake being okay when clearly not. Adding to my disdain, she was perfectly okay with no sex. Of course I did not initiate. Neither did she, thank God. That also helped solidify my decision. During the actual breakup. Very nerve-wracking. The cop was very helpful. Gave him enough of my story to garner some sympathy. At least it felt that way. He coached me to say very little, and he ensured me he would move things along. Again, I was pretty much done at this point. Just wanted to get it over with more than anything. The officer was extremely sympathetic to her and kind, but assertive. I'm sure he dealt with worse. No doubt, he knew what he was doing. I spent the bulk of the time on the balcony pretending to play with my phone back turned. The cop was talking to her the whole time. I could barely hear. Anyway, thanks again. Redditor's reactions, story 3 after. Redditor 1, duck her and her sister. At that point you're taking care of you as you should. You avoided a mess and moved on to better things. Nice job. Op answer, thanks. Honestly, Reddit helped me a ton. I scoured stories for days and wanted no part of trying to find details, listening to her, getting pressure to reconcile, etc. Redditor 2, these are the cheating stories I like reading. Thank you for being a shining example of how to handle this situation perfectly. Ex-fiancé's sister is full of it. Redditor follow-up, there is no way to handle this kind of situation perfectly. It's a crap show no matter how you look at it. But well done op for handling it about as much dignity as you can. Redditor 3, could have handled it better equals bend over and take it, and allow her disgusting sister to save her reputation and allow her to avoid any consequences for her decisions. Yeah, the sister is a crappy enabler. Glad you blocked her. Redditor follow-up, my guess is that the sister would have encouraged her to cheat during the bachelorette party, and would have helped cover it up. Just a hunch. Story 3, I walked in on my wife and her best friend, also a female. I dated my wife for 4 years, then proposed, got married and lived a wonderful life together. We own a beautiful home, have a 1-year-old daughter together and both have successful careers. We were living the American dream. She became really good friends with another girl from our gym and they started hanging out and texting a lot. I thought it was a little strange, but I've been with my wife for 7 years, and we have a great physical connection and a good time life. So I didn't think she was a lesbian. I brought my concerns to her several times about the intensity of her friendship and I got assurances every time that it was just that. They were just friends. Then, we had our baby and I let my guard down. I didn't think she would ever cheat on me once we had a baby. Well, I came home from the gym one day and my baby was taking a nap in her nursery. I opened the door next door and my wife was naked. I pushed the door a little more and her friend was also naked hiding behind the door. They had apparently been having a secret lesbian affair behind my back for several months. We are getting divorced now, and they are still together. It was soul-crushing at first, but I'm realizing that for someone to live a lie for so long and hide a secret relationship, they are ultimately not a good person. Therefore, me getting away from this person will make my life better. I thought I was in a happy marriage, but I think I was more in love with living the American dream. I'll find someone who actually respects me, and is a good person. I know that is a lot, but I wanted to share. Update: I slept until my alarm today and didn't think about her, my cheating wife, for the first 2 minutes of the day. My wife and I separated 48 days ago after her affair. As anyone in this thread knows, it is pure hell at the beginning. I'm here as an example that it gets easier. I wasn't sleeping or eating much and I went from 228 pounds to 207 in 2 weeks. Today, I woke up to my alarm, I weighed in at a healthy 215. I'm 6'4", and most importantly I started my day thinking about my gym routine and what I had to do today. It wasn't until about 2 minutes after being awake that she popped into my head and I had that feeling of being punched in the gut. Today was 2 minutes, hopefully next week it will be 5-10 and then eventually I will go days without thinking about her. Or think about her and not feel that deep pain? I find these small victories are important to celebrate in the recovery process. Update: is it helpful to tell her how much she hurt me, or does that solve nothing? I have been struggling with this question the past few days. My wife and I are getting divorced after her second affair. Both with women we have a child together, so we need to stay in communication with each other. We agreed to talk only about logistics and the needs of the baby. It's so tempting to rip into her and actually tell her how reprehensible her behavior was. It's tempting to tell her parents. It's tempting to call her a lesbian or it's tempting to text her a rant. I haven't done any of these things because they don't seem like they would help. We have zero chance of reconciliation, so my thought is that it's best just to focus on the future and not unpack a bunch of emotions from the past. She is still with her affair partner, so that makes me more mad, but I have realized I can't control her, so I guess I need to stop trying. I can only control myself and being the best dad I can be to my baby. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1: if there's one thing to remember about cheaters like your wife, it's this. It's not that they don't see, it's that they don't agree. Your wife already knows all about how you feel. She just doesn't agree that it's her fault, or that it's justified, or that you're being reasonable. I would strongly suggest avoiding the urge to rip into her. It might make you feel good in the moment, but it will almost certainly create issues for you down the road. She could use that against you, for example, when it comes to custody. So, rest assured, she already knows how she made you feel. She just isn't particularly moved by it. Stay strong. It sounds like you're already on the path to being clear of her. Redditor 2: I would tell friends and family. Not to whine, but just to make sure she isn't slandering you when it does come out. She made her bed. I'm going to disagree with what others have said about telling her what she's done to you. If you want to rip into her, I say do it. Might not make you feel better, but then again it just might. Redditor 3: doing this will only increase her enjoyment of what she did to you. She's a lying cheater. Anything like you're thinking about doing will be enjoyed by her and her nasty cheating partner. They'll laugh over it. My advice is don't do it. Don't hand her the stick to beat you with. If you think it won't hurt you with custody etc., make sure everyone knows she is a disgusting serial cheater. Redditor 4, let her parents know. You don't want her to tell a different story to make you look bad, and also tell any and all friends who can support you. I would not go beyond that for now. It may actually snap her out of the fog. You still have to deal with her cheating and her lifestyle. Answer, I appreciate your comment, but I still don't see how this helps me move on and get better. What her parents think doesn't really impact me. We both agreed that our daughter won't know the reason and that we won't speak negatively about the other person to our daughter. Therefore, her parents can think whatever they want as it won't really affect me. Thanks for the response though, I do see your point and it made me think a lot about it.